Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take some pretty complex research, maybe strip away some of the jargon,
Hmm.
and really try to give you the most compelling bits, the stuff you need to know. And today, oh wow, we are exploring a relationship that's, well, maybe one of the oldest, most profound alliances in human history, the human-animal bond, and how science is showing it. It literally rewires our brains. We're diving into the study of human-animal interactions. It's called anthrozoology, right? And we've pulled sources from, all over. We're talking 33,000-year-old archaeological sites,
Hmm.
right up to supercurrent neurobiology, tracking hormones, that kind of thing.
That's exactly it. And our mission today really is to give you a kind of shortcut,
Yeah.
way to um, understand this deep connection. We want to unpack the biology, the psychology,
Mm.
how companion animals actually work as social support, their measurable role in mental health too, especially fighting things like anxiety, depression, loneliness, and the specific neurochemistry, how it affects stress.
Okay, yeah. Let's unpack this then. Starting with that incredible story, the coevolution. How dogs, well, how they went from wild wolves to basically part of the family.
The history here is it's staggering. Early signs of this human dog thing go back maybe 33,000 years. That's
Right.
way before we even started farming. And we see clearly domesticated dogs in the record around 15,000 years ago. Solid evidence.
And what's really interesting, the old story, hunter-gatherers just adopting wolf pups. It's probably, well, a huge oversimplification. Studies even show that wolf pups raised by humans, they still stay wild, don't really fit in.
Right. Domestication wasn't quite an active project. It was more like a slow, accidental process, maybe. It started out as mutually beneficial. Commensalism, it's called.
Mm.
The less aggressive wolves, they got food scraps from humans, hung around the camps, and in return, they were a great alarm system, barking at strangers or danger.
But then something shifted. Selection pressure kicked in. The bond got stronger because apparently we're just suckers for, what do they call it, pedomorphic features.
Exactly. Pitomorphic. It just means childlike traits. Things like, bigger eyes, bigger heads compared to the body, flatter faces. These features, they just instantly trigger our instinct to care for something. And domestic dogs, they really dialed those features up over time. There's also some fascinating anthropological work suggesting that women, early on, seeing dogs as both useful and having a sort of person status, that might have been key to really cementing the friendship.
Huh. So if your dog is totally spoiled rotten and basically runs the house, you can just blame evolution for making them so good at manipulating us.
Pretty much. They are masters of evolutionary appeal. And we know it wasn't just about work. The emotional connection was deep early on. We see it in ancient dog burials, even before agriculture. Sometimes they were buried just like humans curled up, maybe with special objects, grave goods.
Yeah, think about those examples we found. That Bonn Castle dog in Germany. It had signs of really bad distemper, meaning someone must have nursed it through a long sickness. Or that 18-year-old dog in a Roman burial in Tunisia. Really bad arthritis. An old, sick dog, clearly cared for right to the end. These weren't just animals as tools, they were family.
Absolutely. And all those thousands of years together didn't just build a social bond, it actually created a kind of biological dependency. The connection is so fundamental, it uses these ancient messenger molecules, neuropeptides, things like oxytocin, which is absolutely central to the social brain in all mammals, including us.
Okay, that perfectly leads us into the next bit, the neurobiology. Let's focus on that love hormone, oxytocin. Its role sounds huge here. We know it's involved in bonding, like parent-child bonding, building trust, empathy, and importantly, it can have calming, even pain-reducing effects. It actually suppresses the body's stress response.
And this is where the human-animal bond gets, well, really wild scientifically. Studies confirm something pretty amazing. When dogs and their owners just look into each other's eyes, mutual gazing, both of them, the human and the dog, get a boost in oxytocin levels. This sets up a powerful, self-reinforcing cycle. Researchers call it the positive oxytocin gaze loop.
A mother-infant bond equivalent that really elevates things beyond just owning a pet. It makes that connection feel biologically essential. Explains why that eye contact feels so, well, meaningful.
It really does. And evolutionarily, it's a massive shift. Wolves, historically, they only use direct eye contact for dominance challenges or aggression. Dogs, though, they've repurposed it. They use it for affection, for connection with us.
Okay, and here's a bit I found truly compelling. Dogs have actually evolved new muscles in their faces. Since being domesticated, they developed a specific muscle just to furrow their brow, to make those puppy dog eyes.
Yes. The levator anguli oculi medialis muscle. That's the one. And observations in shelters, they absolutely confirm it. Dogs who make that specific face, the one that looks sad or worried to us, they get adopted faster. It's a literal evolutionary adaptation, giving them an advantage in living with humans.
Wait, hold on. So dogs physically change their anatomy specifically to tug at our heartstrings? That's basically biological manipulation. And clearly it worked.
It absolutely did. And it's not just the look. Their communication skills are amazing. They're incredibly good at using eye contact and what's called gaze alternation, like looking at a hidden treat they can't reach, then looking back at the human as if asking for help.
Hmm.
Wolves don't do that well. Even really smart apes struggle with that kind of communicative pointing with their eyes. It shows how unique that dog-human coevolution really is.
Okay, so let's connect this affection loop, the oxytocin surge, to the stress system. If the love hormone is firing up like that, what's happening on the other side with the stress and anxiety we all deal with?
Well, interacting with animals has really immediate measurable effects on stress regulation. Like you said, oxytocin is anxiolytic. It actively reduces anxiety, which you probably contrast that quickly with its relative arginine vasopressin, or AVP.
AVP, right, that's a bit of a mouthful. Functionally, what does AVP do?
Think of AVP as kind of the counterbalance, or maybe the stress-promoting twin in the system. AVP is anxiogenic. It actually promotes anxiety, and it increases the release of cortisol, our main stress hormone. But human-animal interaction, it seems to tip that balance right away. We see cortisol levels measurably decrease, which is obviously good.
And a drop in catecholamines too, right? Those fight or flight hormones?
Exactly. Epinephrine, norepinephrine, those key fight or flight signals, they decrease too.
Yeah.
So interacting with an animal lowers cortisol and these catecholamines, resulting in less stress. And this holds up whether you measure it right after an interaction or look at long-term effects.
Okay, now there's one study in the sources that just blew me away. It deserves a pause. Researchers found that having an animal present during a stressful task, like public speaking or doing tough math problems, it actually lowered the physiological stress response more than having a supportive spouse present. More than a spouse.
It's a huge finding, really eye-opening. The thinking behind why that might be. Well, animals offer completely non-judgmental comfort. They don't care how well you do on the math test. They don't judge your speech. They don't add any complexity to the situation. They're just pure, uncomplicated support. A spouse, even a very supportive one, is still a complex human relationship. There are expectations, history.
Right. Wow. Okay, so if pets can literally beat your spouse in a stress reduction contest, let's talk about real-world applications. This must go way beyond just feeling a bit calmer, right?
Oh, absolutely. It directly targets significant mental health issues. Human-animal interaction, or HAI, is consistently linked to reductions in clinical anxiety, in depression, in loneliness too. The relationship itself provides things that are hard to find elsewhere. Unconditional love, total acceptance, constant availability, devotion.
That fits perfectly with social support theory, doesn't it? Pets provide emotional support, they boost self-esteem, sometimes practical support like service animals, and they even act as social lubricants, right? Helping isolated people connect, like chatting with others while walking the dog.
Exactly, and the therapeutic evidence is getting stronger. There was a recent pilot study, quite interesting, and involved low-income folks dealing with serious mental illness. They found statistically significant drops in depression, anxiety, and loneliness after a year. Just 12 months with an emotional support animal. Could be a cat or a dog.
And the biomarker data from that same study, that was fascinating too, especially seeing the benefits actually grow over time. They saw that pattern. Higher oxytocin, lower cortisol after just 10 minutes of interaction. But the biggest oxytocin jump wasn't right away. It was at the 12-month mark, suggesting the biological bond actually deepened.
Yeah, it indicates a strengthening relationship over time. And this kind of non-drug support seems really helpful for conditions linked to long-term stress. Chronic fatigue stuff. Think about exhaustion disorder or burnout syndrome, that extreme mental and physical drain. Having an animal around can help recovery. It adds meaning, affection. And crucially, it encourages gentle physical activity. Those routine dog walks, they help build stability, healthy daily rhythms.
It sounds like such a positive system.
Yeah.
But we have to touch on the flip side. If the connection is that profound, the loss must be equally significant.
It is, absolutely. Grief over losing a pet. It's now widely recognized as being just as real, just as intense as human bereavement. There was a systematic review that identified sort of 5 key themes for people grieving a pet: their unique relationship, the nature of their grief, feelings of guilt, the supports they have or lack, and how they see their future without the animal. It really means health professionals need to take this loss seriously. Respond similarly to how they'd respond to the loss of a human family member.
That's incredibly important to acknowledge.
And, before we wrap this up, we should add a note of, let's say, scientific caution, or nuance, maybe. Because while the big picture mental health benefits, the cortisol reduction, that stuff is pretty solid. Some of the specific findings on that oxytocin surge, they can be a bit mixed sometimes.
Mixed? How so? If the bond is so strong, why wouldn't the oxytocin always show up clearly?
It often comes down to the details, methodology, context. We're talking about measuring tiny amounts of these neuropeptides. It's tricky. Some of the early studies showing those really big oxytocin spikes used a technique called radioimmunoassay, RIA. But some newer, maybe more specific studies using enzyme immunoassays, EIA, they haven't always found that same significant jump in either dogs or owners after interaction.
Ah, so the way they measure the hormone itself might be causing the different results. Can you simplify that a bit? Why would one test catch it and another miss it?
Um, okay, think of it like trying to measure, say, a whisper in a noisy room. The older RIA methods might have been, let's say, less precise. Maybe they picked up not just active oxytocin, but also some leftover bits, its metabolites. That could inflate the reading. The newer EIA methods are often designed to be more specific, only catching the active molecule, but they might need perfect timing or sampling conditions. The interaction itself is complex. Maybe the peak surge is brief and easily missed if you don't sample at exactly the right moment or from the right place, like urine versus blood plasma versus saliva.
Okay, got it. So what this means for you listening is that it's not necessarily like flipping a switch every single time you pet an animal. The science encourages us to think critically. That oxytocin release, it probably depends a lot on the quality of the relationship, the
Right.
trust, also the measurement method, having standardized procedures.
Exactly. The effects seem strongest in relationships that are already close, already trusting. It's mediated by that bond, not just the physical touch itself.
Right. So we've gone from, wow, 33,000 years of coevolution, the evolution of actual puppy dog eye muscles, to the nitty-gritty neurobiology, oxytocin versus cortisol, and then the really practical therapeutic uses. Fighting anxiety, helping with chronic exhaustion. It's a huge range.
It really is. And the consistent thread through all of it is that companion animals, especially our dogs, they seem to tap directly into our most ancient mammalian systems for caregiving and social connection. The question isn't really if they help us anymore. It's more about how deeply integrated they are into our basic survival and well-being. They're like powerful, non-invasive additions to traditional ways of helping people feel better.
That is a powerful thought to end on. And maybe a final question for you to ponder. If dogs have become so attuned to us, reading our cues, even changing their bodies to make us care for them, what other capacities might other animal species unlock in us if we really let them into our lives? And what does all of this tell us about the fundamental nature of connection itself?